Top 10 Horror Movies. Assessing the quality of offerings available from Netflix in 2022, it quickly becomes clear that their horror library is a real mixed bag. Hey guys, welcome to your entertainment channel, Netflix Tops, where we will tell you about the top-rated movies and series on Netflix. So grab your popcorn and stay with us until the end of this video, because today's video is going to list down the top 10 horror movies on Netflix. So let's get started. Number 10. The Exorcist is a bit of a safe pick, but then you wrestle with whether any other film on this list is more disturbing, more influential, or just plain scarier than this movie. And there simply isn't one. The film radiates an aura of dread. It feels somehow unclean and tilted, even before all the possession scenes begin. Segments like the demon face flash on the screen for an eighth of a second, disorienting the viewer and giving you a sense that you can never, ever let your guard down. It worms its way under your skin and then stays there forever. The film consistently wears down any sense of hope that both the audience and the characters might have, making you feel as if there's no way that this priest, Jason Miller, not particularly strong in his own faith, is going to be able to save the possessed little girl, Linda Blair. Even his eventual victory is a very hollow thing, as later explored by author William Peter Blatty in The Exorcist 3. Watching it is an ordeal. Even after seeing it multiple times before, The Exorcist is a great film by any definition. Number 9. If you're the proud owner of a twisted sense of humor, you might tell your friends that Julia Ducournau's Raw is a coming-of-age movie, in a bid to trick them into seeing it. Yes, the film's protagonist, naive incoming college student Justine Garance-Marillier, comes of age over the course of its runtime. She parties, she breaks out of her shell, and she learns about who she really is as a person on the verge of adulthood. But most kids who come of age in these movies don't realize that they've spent their lives unwittingly suppressing an innate, nay insatiable need to consume raw meat. Fear of feminine sexuality, family legacies, popular politics, and uncertainty of self-governed raw horrors, as much as exposed and bloody flesh. Number 8. Nothing sucks the energy out of horror than movies that withhold on horror. Movies can scare audiences in a variety of ways, of course, but at the very least, a horror movie can be as scary instead of screwing around. Remy Weeks' His House doesn't screw around. The film begins with a tragedy, and within 10 minutes of that opening, handedly outgrudges The Grudge by leaving ghosts strewn on the floor and across the stairs, where his protagonist can trip over them. Weeks is deeply invested in Ball and Rael as people, in where they come from, what led them to leave, and most of all, what they did to leave. Number 7. The aesthetic of Haunting of Hill House makes it work not only as a horror TV, but also as a deft adaptation of Shirley Jackson's classic novel. The monsters, ghosts, and things that go bump on the wall are off-screen, barely shown, or obscured by shadow. The series even goes back to some of the first film's adaptation's decisions, in terms of camera movement and shot design, in order to develop uneasiness and inconsistency. Well, maybe inconsistency is the wrong word. The only thing that feels truly inconsistent while watching it is your mind. You're constantly wary of being tricked, but the construction of its scenes often gets you anyway. By embracing the squirm and the time necessary to get us to squirm rather than jump, The Haunting of Hill House is great at creating troubling scenarios, and even better about letting us marinate in them. Number 6. On Midnight Mass's Crockett Island, every islander feels rife with misfortune. The recent oil spill nearly annihilated the fish supply, tanking the island's local fishing economy. The majority of the residents have fled the island for a lack of opportunity. Only 2 ferries can take them to the mainland. Hope runs in short supply, and a major storm brews on the horizon. With both the physical claustrophobia of Crockett's setting and the internal suffering of characters placed in center stage, Midnight Mass concerns itself with horrors within, addictive tendencies, secret histories, and questions of forgiveness and belief. At one glance, it's a series that mined Catholic guilt for gold. In another, it's a measured yet spooky take on group psychology and a need for faith and sorrow, and the ethics of leadership with such vulnerable followers, weighing whether these impulses represent human goodness, evil, or simply nothing at all. Number 5. Creep is a somewhat predictable but cheerfully demented little indie horror film. The directorial debut by Bryce, who also released this year's The Overnight, starring the ever-prolific Mark Duplass. It's a character study of 2 men, naive videographer and not-so-secretly psychotic recluse, the latter of which hires the former to come document his life out in a cabin in the woods. It leans entirely on its performances, which are excellent. Duplass, who can be charming and kooky in something like Safety Not Guaranteed, shines here as the deranged lunatic who forces himself into the protagonist's life and haunts his every waking moment. The early moments of the back and forth between the pair crackle with a sort of awkward intensity. Anyone genre-savvy will no doubt see where it's going, but it's a well-crafted ride that succeeds on the strength of chemistry between the two principal leads in a way that reminds me in the scenes between Domhnall Gleeson and Oscar Isaac in Ex Machina. Number 4. Practically more supernatural a creature than its starring monster, Let Me In is not only an Americanized adaptation of a foreign film that isn't a waste of everyone's time, it's arguably superior than the film it's based on. Like the original Swedish film, Let the Right One In, Matt Reeves' update teases a remarkable amount of tension and intrigue through meticulous plotting and arresting imagery. Though set in Los Alamos, New Mexico, rather than Stockholm, the choice of place or relocation initially seems an odd one, but it turns out it's not the icy Swedish darkness that harbors the sense of unease. It's the isolation of a 12-year-old boy, neglected by parents and any real parental figure. Owens' Cody Smith-McPhee bond with the eternally youthful vampire Abby, Chloe Grace Moretz, is as effective and chilling here as it is the original, thanks in no small part to its two phenomenal young leads. No question there's a modern horror classic here from the unlikeliest of origins. Number 3. Leave it to gothic horror extraordinaire Guillermo del Toro to take our unstoppable vampire hunter and crank the style past 11 as he plays up the comic book craziness to the tilt. Arguably even more enjoyable than its predecessor, Blade 2 sees a fragile alliance between Blade, Wesley Snipes, and Bloodpack, basically the Dirty Dozen of vampires, as they face off against Reapers, super vampires who enjoy some tasty vampire blood. Not only are there great new characters in the pack, but as this is a Del Toro joint, there's 100% more Ron Perlman. Fantastic! Number 2. For more of the film, Babak Anvari is crafting a stifling period drama, a horror movie of a different sort that tangibly conveys the claustrophobia of Iran during its tumultuous post-revolution period. Anvari himself, of a family that eventually fled the Ayatollah's rule, has Made Under the Shadow as a statement of rebellion and tribute to his own mother. It's a distinctly feminist film. Shida Nargas Rashidi is cast as the tough heroine fighting back against greater hostile forces, a horror movie archetype that takes on even more potency in this setting. Seeing Shida defy the Khomeini regime by watching a Jane Fonda workout video banned by the state is almost as stirring as seeing her overcome her personal demons by protecting her child from a more literal one. Number 1. The Babysitter is a little guileless in its overt desire to be lovingly described as an 80s slasher homage, but simultaneously effective enough to earn a good measure of that approval it craves. With twists care of Fright Night and Night of the Demons, it's at its best when not trying to slavishly recreate a past decade, but when letting its hyper-charismatic teenage characters run wild, stylish gore and profane to a fault, fast-moving, only 85 minutes, and frequently hilarious. It's probably the best unit of popcorn horror entertainment that Netflix has managed to put out so far. And this brings us to the end of the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for amazing movie reviews coming your way, and thank you for watching.